Thank you for joining us. It's time to look at what's on the front pages of the newspapers this morning. And I have with me in the studio broadcaster journalist Funke Treasure, public affairs analyst Victor Ohai also joins me now. Good morning, Funke.
Good morning.
Good morning, Victor.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. All right, I head straight to the papers and I begin with Nigerian News Direct. Kogi Jailbreak. Federal government orders citizen security agencies to arrest fleeing inmates as SANU seeks firearms for varsity security operatives. No more excuse cause. That's the two army commanders. You find details on the pages of the Nigerian News Direct. To this Nigerian newspaper, another jailbreak. Gunmen release 240 inmates in Kogi State. Kill 4 as police begin manhunt. 3 fleeing suspects rearrested. Many still missing in Edo Imo jailbreaks. You find details on the pages of this Nigeria newspaper. To the blueprint now, still talking about the jailbreak in Kogi State. We are mobilizing Interpol to track 266 escapees. Federal government says gunmen use explosives, killed soldiers, cop 2 others missing. Says gunmen use explosives, killed soldier, cop 2 others missing. All right, details on the pages of the blueprint. To the Daily Times now, attack on Kaba Custodial Center. Security forces on trail of perpetrators. Inmates. Aregbe Shola speaking there. All right, to the Vanguard newspaper now. Federal government seeks Interpol's help as 240 escape in Kogi Jailbreak. We are putting Interpol on notice with their details in case any of them attempts fleeing ashores. Interior Ministry. Gunmen attack Kaba prison, kill soldier, policeman, injure prison personnel, free 240 inmates. 2 prison officers missing. Will unmask those behind the attack soon. Kogi government security forces on trail of perpetrators. Inmate Aregbe Shola. Security report warned of looming coordinated attacks in Kogi. Sources speaking there. And to the Nigerian Tribune now. Kogi prison attack, gunmen kill policeman, soldier, free 266 inmates. Federal government alerts Interpol. To the Nation newspaper, panic in Federal Capital Territory, Kwara, Ekiti, over 240 fleeing inmates. Gunmen kill soldier, policeman in Kogi prison. To the Punch newspaper now, military onslaught in Zamfara, dislodged bandits flee southwards. Gunmen strike in Kogi, Kaduna, Ekiti. We got intelligence report that bandits were coming to Ondo Forest. Amotekun Corps commander, terrorists invade Kogi prison, free 240 prisoners, kill 2 soldiers. Gunmen abduct 4 Ekiti travelers. All right, to This Day, the front page of This Day newspaper now. Army chief to war commanders, I won't accept any more excuses over attacks. Says officers must take initiative, decisive action to defeat threats. Maintains failure is failure irrespective of the circumstance. And to the Daily Trust newspaper now. How communication failure caused deadly attack on troops in Zamfara. Bandits kill 9 Navy soldiers, 2 policemen. Telecom suspension costly, has no NSA clearance. Source, criminals bypass communication ban. Army chief to commanders, I won't take any excuse from you again. To the First News newspaper, federal government behind terrorists against South Middle Belt. Akintoye alleges federal government behind terrorists against South Middle Belt. Akintoye alleges. To the Daily Independent, despite headwinds, insurance premium may hit 1 trillion naira in 2021. And on the Leadership newspaper, VAT battle shifts to National Assembly as lawmakers resume today. VAT battle shifts to National Assembly as lawmakers resume today. All right, to the national economy, Nigeria's oil production to remain stagnant into fourth quarter of 2021. Nigeria's oil production to remain stagnant into fourth quarter of 2021. All right, let's begin this way with the story on the front page of the Punch newspaper, where the story it is being reported that the military onslaught in Zamfara, bandits are fleeing southwards, just as we have seen a gunmen strike in Kogi, Kaduna and Ekiti, and that is already generating concerns for some persons in the south. If you look at the writers there, we got intelligence report that bandits were coming to Ondo State. Amotekun Corps commander reacting to this development. Victor?
Well, I'm a little worried. I do not pretend to be a military strategist, but I do know one thing that usually, which is why you have several arms of the military.
Yeah.
But when you go, for instance, use the Air Force to strike, okay, or you are pounding any location, then you have the infantry, which are these are the foot soldiers.
Yeah.
These ones are to do the mop-up, okay? So I expect that if you already know a location where these people are, as you're striking, you also, you know, that enclave that you're striking, you're surrounding the place and making sure that the people do not escape. Granted, this is not a conventional war where you would say, okay, there's a battle line, you know who the enemies are, and they're probably wearing a certain uniform, and you can tell. But I fear, because what you see here is like what happened in Libya, where the war, I mean, we are suffering consequences of the war. How? Through the proliferation of small arms, for instance, through bandits created for want of what to do, you know, after the war and all that. These people have nothing to do, but they're armed, and so they go out there. And so while I commend the military, and I think it's important to do that as well, it's important that they do more. The reward for a good job, they say, is more work. So to say, I would say to them, please, please, this is more worrisome, because if they go out now, it's bad enough that we're confronted with the issue of what you call it now, armed bandits in our forests. I don't want to say herdsmen. You know, we have that already, the kidnappers and armed bandits in the forest, in the southern forest. We simply cannot take more of this. And so I think that much more should be done, and if possible, if the states can be empowered so much more to, you know, have, it's like you have Amotekun and the rest, so that we can take more responsibility and do more. Otherwise, I fear.
I wonder what your concerns are. Okay.
Well, I'm particularly struck by the headlines in one of the papers that said, Army tells war commanders no excuses. Yes?
That's the Chief of Army Staff, yeah.
War commanders, which means we're at war. That's what it means. We are at war. Yes. So the nomenclature for the bandits is saying they're bandits when they're terrorists is
questionable.
It's questionable. Then again, we look at dislodged bandits coming southwards Nigeria, and you begin to wonder what Gumi will have to say about this, and what somebody like Femi Adesina will have to say, the presidency team will have to say about this. For how many months have we continue to say that these people should not be seen as bandits? Now they're coming southwards. The good thing is southern governors are already passing the anti-open grazing law, and that's number one. They are aware already, so they're not going to be caught snapping like their counterparts in the northwest. In the northeast.
You are confident that they are ready to address this and nip it in the bud?
One thing we must know as analysts also, we must not, I'm not a strategist, a military strategist, just as you've said, but there are some things that you don't even say on in the media, because that's giving out certain
I agree
strategic options.
Because if you also look at the papers this morning, the attacks on the prison in Kogi State was said there was information before it happened. And so you begin to ask questions, what happened such that it wasn't averted?
My question when I saw that was, well, we saw what happened during the NSAS. There was jailbreaking, I think, Edo at that time. And then after that, we had Imo. Should we then have the Kogi jailbreak? And I see that the Minister, Aregbesola, is saying we're going to track them. In the first instance, the numbers are not even uniform. You hear 240, you hear 250, you hear 266. There's something wrong with, again, our information management, our data. And then again, you would think that the prisons will have been fortified by now. But sadly, they've not been fortified. So you have the combination of inmates and bandits coming this way, and that's added insecurity for the people. It's sad, but this is where we found ourselves. How are we going to get out of it? Well, that's maybe left for the governors and the military strategists to fashion out.
And I think that open grazing is one good way that the southern governors have chosen to addressing this, because that's what you pointed out.
Yeah, one of the reasons, so I mean, one of the options, because if you can tighten the nozzle around that particular course, you'll be able to look at the other. That's what I think. That's what I think.
Sorry, I just want to say something there. I think we have gone beyond open grazing right now. I mean, the issue of what do you call it now, herdsmen now. The reason is that's just one. Herdsmen, you find herdsmen. The issue of herdsmen is
armed herdsmen. Well,
they're all usually armed, whether with sticks, cutlasses, cudgels, guns, or whatever. They're armed to protect their cattle, or if you will, ostensibly. But what I think is the problem that we have right now is, okay, there's that on the one hand, because what causes that is when they go into farms, because these are climate issues, but when they go into farms, there's that confrontation with the farmers. That's on the one hand. But what you have that we seem not to be addressing frontally is bandits in our forests, thieves, kidnappers. These are not necessarily herders, exactly. Right. So they're not, because I mean that's on the other hand.
Right.
Now these ones need to be how do I put it now? There's a language for it. Okay, just fast, nimble. So they cannot be burdened with cattle.
Yeah, they can't be boxed into.
No, they can't be burdened with cattle, with a burden of carrying cattle. They have to be nimble. Kidnap your victims, take them into the forest, make your demands, get your money, but keep moving. Okay? And so that's who they are. That's on the other hand. And we seem to be so preoccupied with talking about herders, which is an existential threat. There's no doubt about it. But there's also that, and we need to confront that frontally. In our forests right now, we are surrounded by another serious existential threat, and within our communities. Now, why not saying anything against whether Okada riders or other artisans and all that? But you see, we have seen busloads and truckloads of people coming down south and who are jobless, which is also a perfect workshop for the devil, those minds, These people come in and they're in our communities, and some of them have characters that are questionable. Of course, there are many who are hardworking, but after a while, if you don't find anything to do, then the devil finds work for you. So we're surrounded by these characters. We don't know who they are. They are amongst us. They are either riding Okada or trading on our streets or even in charge of our security. and which means that when we're locked in, we're actually locked in, and we're at their mercy. So the security chiefs in this country, I hope they sit down and look at these things holistically. We don't need to be emotional about these things. We need to look at what the issues are and attack them properly.
All right. Quickly, I'm sure we have been following the VAT tussle, the impasse between the FIRS and the state governments. Yesterday, or rather, I think the weekend leading up to this week, the appeals court made a ruling, and Lagos State says it is still going ahead with implementing its law and all of it. And then we now see, if you look at the papers yesterday, we saw Ikekwe Madu asking the National Assembly not to get involved, that the legal, the courts should run its course first before it decides to, wade in. The National Assembly decides to wade in. But when you look at what is going on between the federal government and the states in terms of this issue of value-added tax, I wonder what you see playing out, because there are those who have said perhaps this is leading us to the much talked about fiscal federalism that we have been, mumbling and talking about.
What I find curious about it all is how nowadays the federal government is at loggerheads with states about constitutional things. Matters, yeah. First, it's the idea of whose authority land allocation and the authority over land is VAT. It looks like every week there's another drama in between the federal government and the state government. So there's the VAT battle, and I like the way one of the papers said that the VAT battle shifts to NAS as lawmakers resume today. But then we have a Kwemadu say no, let it run its course in the court of law. But then we see the drama. It was on Friday when Lagos passed the bill into law, and Rivers State, and then the appeal court says no, you have to wait. And now, see, we know how to copy things from abroad, and then we bring here, and then we apply some form of native local
intelligence,
and then we run into problems. This is one drama stroke battle. I'm waiting to see where it ends.
Right?
Because both ways. I mean, we've seen all kinds of data, graphs since the battle began about the leading states and then the poorer states, the sharing formula. There should be media tax. There should be this. There should be that. For me, I'm waiting to see how this fiscal federalism that we've run away from for so long will play out at the end of the day.
Okay. Victor, what are you hoping to see at the end of the day? There are those who feel that there are two sides to this. That if at the end of the day the governors or the states are saddled with the responsibility, they may not be able to effectively, collect these taxes and utilize it to the benefit of the state. And on the other hand, there are those who believe that, well, this is the time for them to begin to think outside the box and also ensure that their states generate the needed revenue for their own betterment.
I think it's insulting to say that states cannot, the people that go to the federal obviously are Nigerians and they're human beings. To say that a state cannot effectively manage its resources for its for the benefit of its citizens is not right. People have decided this is our leader for good or for bad. Of course, there will be good leaders and there will be bad leaders, But so whatever happens,
indulgence.
Yeah. So whatever happens, that money will come to the state. Whether it is used or misused, and I'm hoping they're not transferred abroad, but that money will be used. No, but at all levels. They're all complicit at all levels. Right. So I think that it just means that the money will come closer home. The reason is that back home, you know what your problems are. You cannot sit in the center and know exactly what's happening in my village or in my community. Okay? We can make demands of our states, you know, and look at what happened with Lagos. As soon as Lagos discovered the beauty of IGR, you know, when the federal government starved it.
Yes.
Lagos became
buoyant.
Yes,
you know,
it's today the fourth or
lively.
fifth richest economic group. Let me put it. Richer than most African countries. You understand what I'm saying? And with that, I don't know. But you see, what it simply means is that now, if the poorer states are starved of that VAT money that was coming from other states, they'll be forced to start thinking, you know, and there are countries that don't have mineral resources. There are countries that don't, it's just from taxation and creative, how do I put it now, generation of revenue that those countries are able to stand. I'll give you an example, for instance, The Gambia, for instance, the population is just barely 3 million or just slightly above. Benue State has more people than the Gambia. Benue State is an agrarian state. The Gambia, all it has just is tourism, and I don't think agriculture they produce as much as that. And yet, the Gambia is self-sustaining.
Right.
If each individual state in Nigeria can begin to think like a country, okay, I think that Nigeria will be the better for it.
And I think the federal government also collects a particular tax, I think foreign tax, directly, which is a lot of money. So I don't know what they're looking for from the states again. So that's why I said I'm just waiting for this drama to
Yeah, but it's important, I need to mention this very quickly, that it's important, like Ekweremadu has said, that these things we tried in the court, in the courts. You don't just, in the middle of a case, you quickly go and then change the law. That's not, that, as we say, is wuru to the answer. That's not right. You know.
All right. We'll leave the conversation here now. Victor, hi. Funke Treasure, thank you so much for your time on the newspaper review.
Thank you.